Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Nguyen, and the Insider crew.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 110. We are at PCA's national office. Around the table, I have Manny Albin. I have Rob Sass. Damon is actually in the field, so to speak, recording some videos out west. And we also have Ethan the Greyhound. Hello, Ethan. And you certainly won't hear a single...
I was going to say, it's the quietest dog I've ever seen.
And, of course, we also have Robert Forsyth at the controls. So, let's get rolling. Porsche Singer headlines. There's been a lot of online chatter about this topic, and let's just share with folks what we know. And what we know are things that are published publicly, and we have Mr. Sass, who in his former life was an attorney.
Yes.
And so a lot of things that you've seen, Manny, maybe in a nutshell, maybe some of the incorrect things people mention or talk about online.
So the lawsuits basically, Porsche is going after Gunther Works for trademark.
Singer,
excuse me.
Yeah.
Singer trademark violations. People like Singer, Gunther Works, even Canepa with his 959s, all these people that are taking cars and reimagining them, that's all competition against Porsche. Porsche has their Thunderwunsch program. They have their exclusive program. So you may say, well, these guys are only putting out 20, 30 cars a year. How can that be competition? It is when you consider the Thunderwunsch is probably putting out less cars than that. And so there's only so much money in the world or people available that are going to spend this kind of money. So that's why they look at these outfits as competition. And it's not Porsche who is, some people said that they're doing a favor for Porsche. They're spreading the brand awareness and all this. I don't think Porsche looks at it that way.
Yeah, but I also don't think it's completely adversarial from top to bottom in the Porsche organization, because at the end of the day, a lot of the folks there are also enthusiasts, and things that these companies are churning out are amazing automobiles. But as you know, Rob, when you have a brand, you have a trademark, you have intellectual property. If someone uses it in some capacity, or you believe that they're using it in some capacity, you have to protect it, because if someone else down the road chooses to use it and you don't have a record of protecting it, that might become an issue.
Right. Well, and I think that I have not looked at the complaint. I'll preface it by saying that. I mean, it is public record. If you want to go to the courthouse that was filed in Delaware, you can go and make a copy of it, usually for free. But Pacer, which is the online docketing, makes you pay to download it. And I saw it today. I didn't download it. But I think it was pretty narrow. I think that their beef was the use of Porsche and 911 and chassis tags, I think things like that. So that's what I think the bulk of the complaint was. From what I can see, it was dismissed on the 22nd of March without prejudice. And what that means is that Porsche is obviously free to refile at some date if they so choose. If you dismiss without prejudice, you can do that. A dismissal with prejudice means that it's done permanently.
But hopefully that also means that they've reached some sort of agreement and things move on.
That's what one would think.
But we don't know what the terms are.
That's not public record.
Yeah, right. I mean, the terms of the settlement are never going to be made public. So we're beyond speculation. We're not going to know what that is.
So I'm guessing we kind of watch and see what gets churned out of Singer, and then maybe there are some telltale signs of what was agreed upon.
Yeah.
And this has been going on for as long as I've been in PCA National, which was 2000. Porsche has, if you will, gone after people who have misused their crest, their script, whatnot. Usually it isn't other people developing cars. It's shirts or toys or whatnot. But it's nothing new. They go after people who use their name.
As Manny said, this is nothing new, especially in the PCA world. Like, we are lucky enough that, some of our events, some of our merchandise, we have very specific, usage rights agreements with Porsche that we can do, but it's very, very specific. And a lot of times, even Porsche dealers don't represent the Porsche brand correctly, say in an ad, or they make a t-shirt for their local dealership event or something like that, and they get crossed with Porsche because Porsche is constantly protecting that image.
Right.
So this is not new.
Right.
as
And
Manny
there's
said.
the other concern, which is, Porsche did not reimagine these cars. It was Singer doing it. So they haven't been subjected to testing by Porsche or anything else. And if their name is all over the car and there's an issue, I would imagine Porsche does not want to be in the liability loop.
Yeah, it gets complicated.
Yeah.
So anyways, hopefully that was a little tidbit on the Porsche Singer headlines. You're armed with a little bit more information.
I just see a lot of confusion because some people don't even realize that this happened. This lawsuit was filed.
Yeah.
And by the time they hear about it, they're also
done.
going to hear rumors that it was taken away.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
And I do want to say that I'm no better than a layperson in this. It's been 20 years since I practiced law, and I don't think my license is current anywhere. So,
Well, like I said, we all of these organizations are definitely friends of PCA, and we hope that they all work it out because we definitely love everything that they're producing.
So for you, it's panorama editor or homelessness. Is this what you're telling us? you can't fall back when you're.
I could probably do the 500 back hours of continuing legal education and reactivate my licenses if I wanted to. So
I don't see that happening.
yeah.
Let's see. Also, in the news, I've been seeing information about the K1. You want to talk a little bit about the K1?
That's Rob's favorite car. He's
Oh,
gonna get it.
you read the column for next month's.
I did.
Well, as Porsche is always fond of saying that, whatever segment they go into, they want to field the sportiest vehicle in that segment. So if this vehicle comes to fruition, I'm quite certain it'll be the sportiest 7-passenger 3-row SUV out there.
I have a feeling it's not going to be the most comfortable for all 7 passengers.
I hope not.
Because then I think you're looking at the size of a Suburban. And even the Suburban, the last row is not exactly the back seat of a Panamera. It's
Right.
pretty tight, so.
Yeah. So let's get to know you read the column.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I don't read all my emails. No,
So
I'm just kidding.
why don't you give us a briefing? Are you in favor of it, against it, or?
Well, look.
Let me guess. What
What
did you think when the Cayenne came out?
Exactly. I was ripping my garments and saying they're dead to me. I was with a lot of other people, and I mentioned in the column that when the 996 came out, it wasn't anything that I thought was inherently bad about the car or unattractive. I just didn't like the fact that when I looked in my rearview mirror, I couldn't tell if it was a 911 or a Boxster. So Porsche has this history of doing things that can upset the faithful, but we all seem to come around. But at the end of the column, thinking that a 3-row 7-passenger SUV might just be a bridge too far.
I think the next one that would probably do it would be a pickup truck.
No, I'd be far.
Oh, you would?
I'd be
So you
far.
really like the
What?
pickup
Yeah,
truck
like a
idea.
Porsche Raptor pickup. I'd be far. I know. I would be far
Robert just
more.
chimed in. Robert's like, I'll sign up for one.
Yeah, never had diesel manual, Raptor-esque Porsche pickup. I'd be far more okay with that than a 7-passenger 3-row SUV.
Electric.
Electric.
That's
too.
all we're gonna
Even
be
electric.
and
Electric.
Yeah.
All right. So since I already have you riled up, I didn't I didn't have this article over to Robert, but there is a journalist in Europe, I believe, was writing about how the manual transmission is silly and makes no sense in today's world. Did you?
I mean, honestly, that was just done for the clicks. It's gonna
Was it April
piss
Fool's?
people off.
No, this guy was totally serious.
But I mean, the fact of the matter is, it's less of a novelty in Europe anyway. I mean, you can go rent a car in Europe tomorrow, and a third of your choices, if not more, are going to be manual. So it isn't the the novelty that it is here, the the romance of it, for us isn't felt there. And the fact is, if you want to go fast on track day, you are better off with a dual, with a PDK. But for engagement, for enjoyment, I'm a 3-pedal person, as are you and you. I mean, I don't think that's really all that ambiguous.
And I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. It's just interesting to see sort of, that opinion being such a strong statement.
Well, it is silly. It is an anachronism. And let's face it. I mean, in today's, it really is. But, I like it. And I think that's really, that's all that really matters.
To me, it's like I can heel and tow.
Right.
And that was a big deal when I started doing driver's ed, if you could heel and tow.
Yeah.
And now Porsche does it automatically. So that
You can't turn it off, though.
Fine skill. Well, I wouldn't. I mean, if I was on the track, even though I know how to do it, I would love, because I couldn't do it 100% all the time correctly.
Yeah.
And so it's if the machine's going to do it for me and enhance my driving, I got to say, it's nice knowing I can do it manually. But
Yeah.
But anyways, given the choice, I would love stick, even though it's slower.
Yeah.
I'll take it all the time. But I think I'm in the minority.
Yeah,
and,
we are.
And I think PCA members are the majority would probably say, let's go manual, unless there's some medical reason why they can't do stick shift. But PCA members are not the majority of the buyers.
I would even argue with you that the majority of PCA members are not manual fans.
Oh, they're not my friends.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
dead to me.
it is true though. I mean, there is a lot of
Just look at what-
two-pedal shaming too that goes on. I mean, if you look at any of the the for sale forums on Facebook or wherever, and if there's a tip or a PDK, there's always at least one two-pedal shamer comment saying, "Well, it's too bad it's not a manual."
Sales, but the thing is, sales don't lie.
I know.
Sales don't lie. Like, I love the older cars and I love the manual, but most people that just look at all the, not all, but a lot of the GT folks, and look at the cars that are at our events. They are primarily PDK
If you like automatic, you can get some smoking deals for Tiptronic cars. I mean,
Right.
seriously.
Tiptronic,
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen beautiful 996s, and I'm like,
996
wow. And I
Tippy-
look at it's a Tiptronic. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, not for me, but anybody who wants a great deal, that's going to be
Those cars are
the
back
car.
in the teens in some instances. If you find a 996 Tiptronic cab that's got over 100,000 miles on it, 19.9 is going to be the
And they
starting
are
price.
bulletproof transmissions.
They really
I
are.
have a Tiptronic
Yeah.
Boxster, and
And that's what I was gonna say is people forget, they kind of just go manual versus tip, but the tip is an amazing transmission. Ding.
Yeah. It really is. I mean, is it a PDK? Absolutely not. But for touring, it's I've seen worse. It's a 5-speed
Yeah.
transmission, so it's not like a 3-speed slush box. It's
Right.
It's sporty. Is it? Would I rather my Boxer be stick shift? Yes, but then it's my wife's car, and she does not like to drive stick. So the reason I'm married for 31 years is because sometimes you have to compromise.
Right. The history of Porsche. I mean, if you're thinking about like the old Mercedes-Benz automatic from an early 928, it's not that.
Right.
So yeah, it is pretty good. And we drove that 996 twin turbo with the Tiptronic like a year and a half ago, and that was really pretty nice.
It's one of our local members here, Garrett, he loves his
Yeah.
tip turbo. So, all right, let's get into what's going on April 27th in Orange County, and that is there will be Porsches at the Airwater Broad Arrow auction, and I think we have the website up here. Man, there are some serious cars there, none of which I can afford.
Now you're going to Air and Water, right?
I will be there. Correct. I'll
Yeah.
be there on Saturday.
Yeah, it's a small group of cars. I think it's only like 21 lots, but
But I think they're
cool
hoping to
stuff.
get to 70 cars.
Yeah.
I think that's their goal. A little PCA insider, I did get confirmation. If you are planning to go as a PCA member, PCA members don't have to pay to be able to bid others do, but you do have to put in your bank information so that if you end up with a car, they can wire the.
Does the bank have
money.
to show you have any degree of money?
Just the numbers.
Is a $60 balance enough to get you in?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
there
insider tip.
maybe 2 cars on that list that are not 6-figure cars that are.
Did you see that? Are we going to go through
They
the
can
cars?
finance. I think they have financing, Rob.
No, don't tell me that. Because now yeah, no, we can. I mean, Manny and I were talking about some of the cars
Yeah, some pretty interesting cars.
beforehand. Yeah, some interesting stuff, and just speculating about the pre-sale estimates. We should.
I think
pull
their
up-
shining car is the 69 9082,
yeah,
the Flounder.
yeah.
It's called the Flounder
Lang-
because
Flunder.
of the,
Yeah.
Flunder
because
Spider.
it's flat like a flounder fish.
Ah.
Car finished 3rd overall at Le Mans in 1970, right?
Yep, and which was the year Porsche first won Le Mans.
Yeah,
And in
it's the
917.
3 and the 1, 2, 3, right?
And
Yeah.
this car, it's shaped like this because the 908s, they made three versions, if you will, and these were made to be as aerodynamic as possible. So that's why they're so flat. They were for the high-speed track. So Porsche had hoped that this would win Le Mans because it was made. Le Mans back then didn't have the chicanes, so it was all about flat-out speed. So if you watch Ford versus Ferrari, and there's a scene where they're talking about 200 miles an hour and how the speeds they have to get to be able to beat Ferrari, and they were going to beat Ferrari on the straights. So everyone who wanted to win at Le Mans had to have that straight line speed. And that's
It was
why
all
this
about
car was
Mulsanne
built.
in those days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was also used, not this particular car, but another 9082, Steve McQueen and Peter Revson, who was the heir to the Revlon fortune, raced at Sebring, and then that turned in and won their class at Sebring, and almost won Sebring overall. If it wasn't for a little Italian named Mario Andretti, who was no way going to have an actor beat him at Sebring, and so he got in to another Ferrari, ended up winning. But this 908 was Steve used for filming of the movie Le Mans. So there's
that
a
was the
famous
camera
car.
car.
Yeah, there's a famous
Okay.
car with the big. It's not like it is today with these little cameras. This
Yeah.
was a huge box in where
On
the
top of a
number
tripod
hood,
or
the hood
something,
is.
yeah.
Yeah, where they put the camera at, and it would make it easy to switch film and whatnot. So this one here has an estimate of 4.75 to 5.75 million.
I don't envy the people who have to come up with pre-sale estimates for cars like this that are essentially, almost priceless. I mean, how do you even come up with that estimate, I wonder?
I guess you're looking at past sales, and it's.
I know, but these cars are all one of one, I mean, this is
Maybe
know.
comps against cars of its era.
yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows? Tough job, though.
It is very hard because
Yeah.
if it doesn't meet it, then everyone says, "Oh, the market for 908s is going down because this one, didn't meet reserve," and a lot of them sell afterwards. We know because somebody might say, "Well, I only think it's worth 4.3,"
Yeah.
and stops their bidding. Then afterwards, just like any other sale, the seller and the buyer and the auction house get together and they negotiate a price that makes everyone happy, and the car sells.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't realize. I learned that with our visit with Broad Arrow at Amelia. I mean, I knew that went on, but I didn't realize how much of that goes on.
Yeah. And this is, this
And
is
it's still part of their service.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. This is a very thin market, though. I mean, let's face it, there aren't that many people on the planet who can, not just buy it, but if anybody's going to, campaign this thing at all in vintage racing, that's expensive. Is Thor Thorson at Sports Car Market would say this is a weapons grade race car. This is serious.
And I would imagine at this level you're going in, you want to have something that has a history,
yeah.
winning history, because you don't want just any plain Jane 9082 that was
You don't
a
want the
backup
practice
car.
car. You don't
Exactly.
want- yeah, exactly. Right.
Unless the price was really, really good.
Yeah. I mean, I think, is 908's got this car's got a great history, let's face it. So, yeah, that's definitely the crown jewel of this sale.
Yeah, that's you can take it for a test drive when you go out there.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But the next car I would drive, that 88959, very similar to a car that we actually did drive a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I just drove one less than a year ago. Yeah, strangely enough, Guards Red doesn't seem to be that common of a color for 959s. So this is interesting seeing it in that
And
color.
look how tiny those 17-inch wheels look on that car now.
I know, like the
Compared to
17s on my Cayenne.
Back then, that was a big deal. Yeah, it's a boy. I look at those cars. Remember how low they got at one point? They were so inexpensive to buy, and now
Yeah.
there's 2.1 to 2.4 is the
And this
estimate.
one's a Comfort. You know, I mean, that was
They
know,
made
that
more
was-
comforts than sport models.
Yeah, but I mean, that was sport money not very long ago. So these cars are.
And
these
this
cars are doing
isn't a Canepa reimagined, so it doesn't have the 800 horsepower. This is all stock.
Yeah, which is you know from driving it, it's more than adequate.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, it'll scare you,
Yeah,
especially in the rain.
it's such an icon.
Yeah, and
yeah. I mean, this is a car. If you're putting together an essential Porsche collection, you've got to have this, right? I mean, you can't have a real credible, comprehensive collection of Porsches without having one of these.
and you got to have a shop that knows how to work on it.
right.
Yeah.
Like how many did you see at Road
Road
Scholars?
Scholars, we saw 4 Comforts and 2 Sports.
And I wonder how many of those were shipped in, because I can't imagine in the neighborhood there's 4 or 5 of them.
no,
It's
no.
probably people that ship them
Those are
in.
coming from all over the place.
You know,
Yeah,
to be able, because it's not. This car is so specialized.
yeah.
And so many unique features to it that even changing the wheels or tires is, the tire pressure monitor sensors. I think this was the first Porsche, or maybe one of the first cars ever, to have that system on it.
Yeah.
So it's not the same type of system they use today. It's a
Yeah.
little bit more, and it's more. I think once you put it on, you've got to get it, synced up again, and it's. It's not.
Yeah, it's a big deal. But I'm sure those cars were not just North, or Carolina cars. They were coming from all over. Although they probably all had Montana plates.
So it'll be interesting to see if this meets the estimate or
Yeah.
goes down.
Every time I see a 959, I think of the trio growing up, 80s and 90s of like, if I had all the money in the world, the 3 cars I would have. One of them would have been a 959.
Yeah.
The other one would have been a
Oh, a Testarossa or
an F40.
an
F40,
F40. Oh, yeah.
F40.
Okay.
And then the last one would be
Countach.
Countach.
Yeah. That's what I said
that
earlier.
wasn't really. There was another one.
That's the justification for higher education poster.
Poster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
That is exactly the poster.
Yeah. And if you were really cool, you had the one where the taillights of the cars lit up.
Oh, yeah, exactly. With the LEDs.
Yeah.
Plug it
Oh
in.
my God!
I did have that one.
So did I.
I had that one for
Yeah.
sure. I wish I still had it.
Uh,
I don't know. My dad must
Well, you
have
got the
top
higher
scored.
education. Did you fulfill that garage?
Pretty much the same thing.
I had a 308 for a while. That was on probably an early
That's
version.
close
of
enough
the
to
poster.
512.
Yeah.
All right. The next one we have the Carrera GT.
1.4 to 1.6.
Right.
Black.
Remember when those were half that money? Like
Yeah.
not very long ago.
No, I remember. Was it 2009? 2009. We were at St. Charles Porsche
That was
Parade.
2010.
Oh, 2010.
That's
Okay,
where I
so-
met you.
Oh, that's right. So 2010, because the gentleman, I can't remember his name, but he drives his Carrera GT everywhere. Lets
The one
people
from
sit.
Texas?
Yes.
Yes,
And lets
yeah.
everyone sit in it. Super nice guy. And I remember thinking to myself, he bought that car and he's enjoying it. Good for him. But that's $350,000. That's as much as a house. Like it was still big money, right? But now
Yeah.
you think back.
So this one was owned by John Osteen.
Mm-hmm.
I believe he was a Porsche driver.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. This is a very, very famous.
Only 3,600 miles
Wow.
on it. It's just had it says annual service, $11,500.
Ooh.
So you got to be a big do-it-yourselfer to save.
11.5 for the annual service.
That sounds
I mean,
reasonable.
honestly, I was just gonna say the same thing.
Yeah.
I
I'm
mean,
going to
Mark-
remind that to me next time you guys complain about a
you'll pay half
$40
that
oil
now.
filter.
Yeah.
You'll pay half that now for a belt service on a Ferrari
That's
308
what
or
I was just
328.
thinking.
So I mean, that's not like when you hear about like a Jaguar XJ220 and the fuel tank service,
Yeah.
is $50,000 or something like that. I mean, that's not eye popping.
All right, can I throw this at you guys? We just looked at that 959 for what, 2
Yeah.
2 million?
Yes.
This one here at 1.4 to 1.6 what would you choose?
Carrera GT.
The CGT.
I know.
Just for the noise
I know.
alone. Yeah. I mean, I wish
It
when they
sounds
were
like this is a bargain to me.
750, we'd gotten together with like 5 or 6 other people and bought one. But yeah.
Yeah,
I think there's still room
Yeah.
with Carrera GTs.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, I love the 959 and for what it is, and I guess because back when there was none in the United States, it was such a rare bird, so forbidden. But now there's quite a lot in the U.S. For a little bit less, and because you get into a 959, and I feel like I'm getting into my C2.
You
Yeah,
do.
Everything's
Very
the
familiar.
same.
Right.
Yeah.
It's nothing different. Where the Carrera GT, you're getting into a supercar.
Everything about a Carrera
Just
GT
climbing
is
over
special.
into that monocoque, it's
Everything about
tells
it.
you that this is a
Yeah.
little bit different.
Yeah. No, they are absolutely amazing. I don't know. It seems like mortals were buying them back when they were, 350 and 400.
Mm-hmm.
And now it seems like the people who are buying them are completing the set. They have a 959, they have a 918 Spider, and they're completing the set. By
Yeah.
buying this car.
So you were talking about Canepa and the reimagined 959 SC. It's also, is it the Ray Halls that reimagine the
Carrera
Carrera
GT.
GTs?
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're. I wouldn't be able to speak as far as if they're doing anything to the engine or horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
The Carrera GT was normally aspirated, where obviously the 959 was twin turbo, and had a lot of lag, and I think that's what Canepa has cured and made it more of a drivable car, which we see a lot. We see them being driven to Works Reunion and whatnot, and I think for people who want to actually drive their 959, that's probably something to think about if you have one in your you want Bruce to bring it up to modern standards.
Yeah. Didn't they had a Ray Hall Carrera GT at Amelia this year, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah, that
They
signal
did.
yellow
Yeah.
car.
Yep.
They had them
Very
at
cool.
I was Ray Halls at HRE for our own stuff,
Yep.
right?
Yep. All right, this next one of my faves, a dream that's getting further and further away. We're doing the. I thought we were going to do the 356 next.
Oh,
Robert,
let's
do
talk
the
about that.
356.
That is not an ordinary 356 cab.
Yeah, I was going to say this was never in your dreams.
Yeah. It's so far away I can't even dream about it.
Right. Well, I mean, honestly, this is a very, very late 4-cam Carrera 2. It's a C.
The
and I think
64,
it's-
Robert, the red one
Yeah.
with the black top.
Yeah, well, it's a cabriolet.
Nope. Go up.
You almost got it. So it's a
There
red
you go.
cabriolet.
Yeah, black hard
So
top.
the C, we're talking about four-wheel disc brakes.
Yeah.
The most refined line of all the 356s. It also has a hardtop, which I'm not sure how much you'll actually use. But have you ever tried to pick up a hardtop Port 356? I mean, physically
No,
pick
they
one
steel?
up?
It's probably
They're steel, and they
yeah,
are
it's
like
probably a couple $100.
Oh
right?
my God! I was used to my Boxster, which is aluminum.
Yeah.
And someone in our region had a 356 C cab, and he had the hardtop, and I went to feel it, and I was like, "Oh my God, you can actually roll over, and I think you'd be safe in this."
Can you imagine dropping said hardtop on that Carrera 2?
I think it's pretty cool that
hardtop
has a sunroof.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Look at it. I think the one I saw had it too. Yeah,
Sweet.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's,
wow. I mean, that is cool.
So this would be very tempting to me because it's has a Carrera engine in it, something to talk about. Because just a regular C cabriolet is a pretty big deal,
Right.
Yeah,
But
just
making
a
this
pushrod
Carrera-
SC.
Unfortunately, there's not any data on this. It says more. Check back
More
for
to
more
come.
information. Yeah.
Well, it kind of speaks for itself, though. I mean, it's one of, I believe, 100 built in that year. And these are really good cars. This is the end of the developmental line for the 356. We did a story in Panorama not that long ago that Johan Dillon did for us. He got the museum's car, which is very similar to this, and a 901, and drove them on the same roads. And we asked them, hey, which car did you like better? And you remember what his answer was? He loved the 4-cam, the 356. It was more
So
comfortable.
to put this car in today's terms, that car is essentially a GT3 RS Cabriolet of its time.
Yeah, I mean,
That's the hot rod. That's a factory hot rod.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
that
yeah.
was,
Yeah.
Furman 4-cam, very exotic.
I think it was more like a GT3 RS in the sense that you couldn't just go to the dealership. I think you had to be on the list
Yeah.
to get a 4Cam. It wasn't something that
And we learned at
they
Road
were just
Scholars
randomly selling.
the motor alone in this car is $250,000-$300,000. The motor alone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking even go higher for that.
Yeah.
Because there's different variations of it. It's
Yeah. Well, I
And-
mean, Johan said it was just a wonderful, wonderful car to drive.
And
this
typical
car is
Porsche.
absolutely
It's
beautiful.
very understated unless you read on the back deck lid where it says Carrera. To me, it was always the oil lines on the passenger side.
Yeah.
If you looked in the fender well, you see these oil lines, hard oil lines, and you knew that was a Carrera. But most people would walk right by it and not realize this is a special 356.
I love the lower valence.
Yeah. Yeah.
That-
The louvered, valance. Yeah. I mean, that's cool. Luggage rack.
So that has so this car has a estimate of 750 to 900,000.
Yeah. Honestly, these cars don't come up for auction very often, 4Cams of any stripe, and especially cars this late. And they've been pretty stable in their values of late. But, I mean, to me, I haven't seen the car in person, but it looks like $1 million car.
This is a car I think you could take on tours and hold your own.
Yeah.
It isn't
yeah.
something that you have to trailer necessarily. It's
Yeah.
you just got to make sure you have a 4Cam mechanic somewhat close by, or you're willing to truck it to a place like Road Scholars.
Yeah, but I
to
mean,
have
weren't
them
these
work on it.
by the end of the line with the 4Cam? Weren't they pretty dialed in? I mean, you didn't have a roller bearing crankshaft.
No, the
anymore
roller
to worry
bearing was just
about.
in the beginning.
Yeah,
but you still
so-
have like in any 256, you have maintenance.
Yeah.
but the 4Cam's a lot more intensive than a regular pushrod 1600.
Yeah, yeah, they sound good. They make 130, 135 horsepower, something like that, right? I don't know.
Almost 110.
I think it's a little bit more than that because I remember thinking they were pretty comparable to what a 901 or an early 911 would make. But beautiful car, and it's just a thing of beauty under the engine compartment lid.
I want to say it was I thought it was 130.
I remember it's 100 horsepower per liter. 130. Yep, 130 at 62.
Look at that. I was listening when I was at Road Scholars.
Yeah, I know, it
and
was
it's-
Oh, I know why. Because this is the 2 liter.
Right.
All right.
Okay, so it was that time when we knew some piece of esoterica
Yeah.
that Manny didn't. Okay.
Mark the day.
Mark the day, mark the time.
There's plenty you know that I don't know. So
11:15 on April 5th.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Hey, Robert, let's go to the blue race car that was to the left of that. Oh, yeah.
934.
934 Turbo RSR.
RSR.
Har, har, har. That
Now-
is cool.
Doesn't that seem like a really light pre-sale estimate for what that car is? I mean, you might pay almost that much for a 997 GT3 RS.
I think they're rarer
4.0.
than the 935s.
Right.
And because a lot of 934s were turned into 935s and stayed as 935s.
Right.
So to add this, the 934, it's
All right, gentlemen. So we just talked about how much we loved that 1964 Carrera cab. This car is estimated around the same price.
Arrow blue
What-
with BBS.
Which one are you going to take? Which one are you going to take?
Both of them.
Nope. Pick one.
it's between this one and what?
And the cab we just talked about.
I would go for the cab. I mean, this car is amazing and whatnot, but it's a track car. It's,
If you wanted to, I mean, is
can't
there
help it.
any
I gotta-
place?
I gotta
Is
take
there
this
any
one.
place in the U.S. where you could register this thing? I mean,
Oh,
could
yeah.
you-
I think
Oh,
so,
yeah, plenty
yeah.
of places. That's
All
a
right.
historic
Well, I
car.
hate to keep on going back to Bruce Canepa, but that's what I refer to. He's made, I think, a couple of these street legal.
Yeah.
I think Jerry Seinfeld has one.
Totally.
Right.
could be on the
I
first
want to.
There's many estates where you could.
I
want to
roll up to a Cars and Coffee in that.
That car is just.
Well,
so
you
awesome.
definitely win Cars and Coffee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is.
Especially a real one. Even if
That
you,
is so
you don't
sick.
even see replicas of Cars
Right,
and Coffee.
right.
So either way, you'd win.
Yeah.
But yeah, just
It's so
turning it
raw.
on and letting it idle, you're going to have the whole crowd of people around the
Oh,
car.
that's so beautiful. That's Aero Blue.
Yeah, I think it's Arrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. The
Yeah.
mesh wheels, the period Goodyear tires.
The raised white letter, the good years. Yeah, I know that car just.
I believe these are single turbos, if I recall.
And that tail.
And the 935 was a twin turbo, I believe.
And are these the ones where you see like the fires like shooting out.
I was just thinking the exact same thing.
yeah.
I mean, if
Yeah.
you're gonna roll up to Cars and Coffee and that, you got to shoot some flames.
I'm gonna have to be that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Robert. What else do we have next? Or Manny, you guys have any other favorites you
Oh,
saw?
that anniversary, that '89 anniversary 3.2 Carrera coupe.
I'm gonna guide Robert to that one.
I think it's the last car, the very last car.
Yeah, it was the last car.
Last car on the right, Robert. How much is that 89 anniversary car?
75 to 100, which strikes me again is
That
being
seems reasonable.
pretty reasonable. It's only got 70,000
I
miles.
think
on
Rob
it.
may give you his credit card when you go out.
That's reasonable. So talk a little bit about what makes it the 25th anniversary. What's different about it?
Manny knows these cars pretty well. I think they came in two different colors, silver
Yeah,
and
same
black.
engine. It was body-colored wheels. The interior was silver. Like Rob said, it came in two colors. Fairly low production. What was it?
300 coupes, 200 cabs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a marketing type of thing. It wasn't anything performance related, but they look in person. They're very striking. They're
The body color of Fuchs, like that looks cool.
Yeah.
It's
definitely.
sweet. It's got 70,000 miles on it. You know, I mean, run of the mill G50 coupes on Bring a Trailer seem to be, you know, bumping up
looks like
against
it has like
100.
an exclusive
Center console.
center console.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I hadn't seen that. I like this car a lot. You know, obviously none of us have seen it in person, but that seems like a pretty reasonable pre-sale estimate to me.
And it has that light interior, which looks,
All the anniversary cars had.
Yeah.
No matter which color.
But
you
this one looks
ordered.
like it's in great shape. And some of the photos, you could see a peek of the bottom of the engine. They must have dry iced it because it also looks, well, the top of the engine doesn't look so much. It's clean,
Yeah.
but not spotless.
Yeah. I mean,
But
the
how do you
fans
keep
go-
how do you keep that color carpet clean? That'd be the worst for me.
I don't think this is a daily.
Yeah.
It's,
that's just lovely.
Is that the lowest price car?
I think it is,
the
yeah.
lot? Yeah.
I think so.
But there was a long hood that I saw.
There
that
was a
looked pretty cool.
tangerine
No,
soft window.
It was a blue one.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the hot rod coupe. That's
Oh,
a
okay.
73 hot rod coupe.
Yeah.
That
The
looks
T
like
hot rod.
that looks like that would be a fun sort of canyon carver. Look at the stance on that thing.
Yeah, that is nice. Gemini blue.
Gemini blue,
Yeah.
driving lights, S spoiler.
Yeah, rear flares, no tail. It's really kind of low key and cool.
Well,
and it's estimate 120, 150. And I think before this whole blow up of pricing, that was probably a 40,000 on a good day.
On a good day, yeah.
because it was so modified and whatnot. It was
Yeah.
and-
I like those period Recaros.
yeah. They're not
Yeah.
original seats, but they look good.
Yeah, the Nardi wheel.
Yeah, this is the kind of
10,000
car where you can really enjoy. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's not original, so you can make modifications to it, and you're not like taking the 89 and taking something
Yeah.
that's perfectly original and changing it.
I would love just looking at the 10 grand tack. Oh, CN36s. I like this.
Yeah, it
Twin
looks like
plug.
it was twin plugged. Yeah,
Yeah.
wow.
I like this car a lot.
Go to the engine bay photo again, Robert. That is very tidy. I
Yeah.
like that a lot.
still has a mechanical fuel injection. Looks like.
Yeah. Twin plug heads. That's cool. I like that. I
What-
love those CN36s.
CN36. For those that don't know what CN36 is, you want to explain?
Oh, those are Pirellis.
Period correct.
Period correct. And they've got this really distinctive kind of angular tread pattern. I mean, you can be 100 yards away. And
Back in the day, they were a hot tire.
they were,
Yeah.
yeah, before the P7, they were the hot
Yeah,
tire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's nice is you have the same look, the original look with those tires, but you have today's tread compound and construction technology
Yeah.
built in.
And you got some taller sidewall, which is kind of nice.
So let's go to Rob's favorite car that he didn't realize existed until yesterday.
What car is that?
The 928 Club Sport.
928 Club Sport.
You didn't know that it existed?
I'd never seen one.
I don't think I've seen one in person.
No, it's because there's not many
Yeah.
of them around. It's
This car it's one of my favorite cars in the sale. I mean, the color combination, I even like the way the D90s look on the car. and
They're magnesium
it's
too.
magnesium D90s. It's got sport seats, no sound deadening, no undercoating.
Let's not forget the fender badging or the fender script.
Oh, the fender
Your
script is
CS.
cool. They were given to all the factory drivers back in the day, and Derek Bell kept his basically forever. It was his daily driver for like almost 20 years.
And this one's what color green do you think that is? Did it say? It's like a deep, almost like a forest green.
Yeah, it's not oak green. I should know this. It's a color that is
Forest green metallic.
forest green metallic.
Man, again, I get it right. Man,
Yeah.
Cashmere beige and black leather.
nice.
No sunroof, later exhaust, like Bob said. No undercoating, magnesium wheels.
928 sport seats, which are
And
themselves
they're manual. They're
pretty
not
rare.
power.
Yeah.
Short throw shifter, limited slip,
That's a very
lowered,
special car.
special
The
badging.
AC compressor and the exhaust system were lightened somehow.
So it's very special car. One that you probably have to tell people what it is at Cars and Coffee. Mm-hmm. And I only say this because I remember when our friend David brought his 1988 Club Sport 911 to Cars and Coffee. No one was looking at it, and I happened to walk by it, and I saw that it had no sunroof, so that got my attention. So I stopped to look at it. I started peering inside. I see manual windows, and I'm like, well, somebody went for a lot of effort to make a Club Sport replica, or this is a real Club Sport. It was a real Club Sport.
Wow.
But yeah, that's if you're looking for a 928 for your collection, this is probably the one to get.
Yeah. Yeah. It is absolutely just a stunning
And it's estimated 275 to 375. So I guess we should be shocked, but if you think about in the past and what 928s have sold for in the past 2 to 3 years, that's not really outrageous.
I don't
because-
think
I
that's
mean, a
outrageous
low
at all.
mileage manual, final year 928 might bring that. So, yeah, no, it's not that crazy. I mean, it's probably going to be world record money if you back out the risky business car that Barrett Jackson sold. It's
Yeah.
probably going to break a record for 928s.
All right. Well, we'll report back. We'll get to see the sell-through numbers.
and we
at the end of the
learned
month.
that on Tech Tactics Live that the 968 does not use 928 headlights.
Yeah,
They are specific to the 968, but that the
they did share it with one other car.
yes,
I did not know. I assumed they
the
were the same
964 flock bow.
Yeah.
Really?
The one with the exposed
Yeah,
headlight.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
a 968 light, not a 928 light.
Now that's some cool trivia.
It is.
That really is.
That's
you know?
what
I
you
mean,
learn by watching Tech Tactics Live.
Jeff
I mean-
Jeff Code, a registry coordinator and a 968 registry advocate, and this guy had 30-some years he's been in the 968s.
Wow.
He knew everything. He gave a full lesson on 968s. And like somebody commented, they said, after I watched the show, I want to go out and buy a 968. Well, during the show, I was like hitting bring a trailer while he's talking, going, I wonder how much these things go for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great.
yeah,
episode.
no, I had a chance to talk to him beforehand about the black 968 coupe that I had.
I remember that one.
Yeah, and he keeps all of his cars stocked. The one question that I had for him is there a way to make these cars sound good? 'Cause I bought that I think it was like a
Terrible
Billy Boat
exhaust.
exhaust for my car, and it
I
was
don't know what
just
brand it was, but
it was a
sounded terrible.
terrible mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get into the next topic, I want to remind folks if you're enjoying, or actually, we're going to talk about the newsletter. So if you aren't signed up for eBrake News, do so by going to pca.org. We have eBrake News, Smart Fresh News, and Performance News, and of course, give us a like, comment, and subscribe. I will say though, there's 2 comments recently that was kind of mean. Like, you know how like when your mother says if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it all. These-
Is it on Instagram or?
this one was for Damon with the comparison of the Aston and the GT3.
Why?
Someone was what did they say? And the fact that they used OMG, they go OMG, stop fiddling with your glasses. What an annoying tick! Like, that's so mean.
Seriously?
I guess we know Damon for so long. I guess they never picked up on that.
And then
We
the
should play
one,
poker with him now.
the one that
Now.
I loved.
We got to get
Now
give
that we
him a
know
little
his
bell.
tell.
Then every time he touches his glasses, we'll ring the bell.
We'll ring
Yeah.
the bell. And then someone called me fake and prudish.
Fake. What was that on?
That was on the one when we had the the couple with the GT3s.
Oh wow, Vu's one of the most
Prudish.
genuine
Freaking
people
prudish.
that I know.
Prudish I can see, but
Yeah, I
not
can see
too
that.
bad.
I could,
Yeah.
and,
Just
actually,
because he censors me all the time.
yes. So I wrote back. I've been called worse,
Yeah,
but I am happy that they're listening though.
yeah,
So
they are paying
all good.
attention.
It's not
But
like he
now,
calls you fat and prudish. So I
great.
mean,
Now we're gonna get a slew of those comments.
I don't know.
Fat shamed.
You should read some of the panorama emails sometime.
I know.
so you
I
should
know.
share. We should have a whole
You- you-
episode of.
Oh yeah,
You know what? For those of you that are listening, we in the office we talk about a lot of comments that either comes to Panorama, stuff that's about me, about Manny. There's definitely some fun things that comments that come in about Bogdan and Damon. Should we do a show of some of these outlandish comments that people make?
Remember when Jimmy was it Fallon or Kimmel did the
Mean tweets.
Kimmel did the mean tweets where the people that were being made fun of would read them
Yeah.
out loud, and it was kind of funny.
Yeah. So if you'd like us to gather our mean comments and
You
share
got
it
to
with
bring the
you,
mean comments about Rob Sesto.
oh absolutely. Oh, I mean, I'll go back to the Spy Collector days. If
Oh.
Spy
you want to
Collector
see some
So for those who weren't around, Spy Collector was
yeah.
this
the graphic novel.
graphic novel,
cartoons like
Now it was a graphic novel.
what?
man.
Call it what it is.
Done.
Cartoons.
and that's how the comment started.
Right.
Why are there cartoons in Panorama?
And how many issues did we have with the spy novel?
I don't know, like 6 or 7.
So you were like, screw this, I'm going to prove you wrong, and
Well, it was always a serial thing. It was never meant to be a standalone. So
But
we
I
had-
think many decades from now, people will be like, "Do you have the complete Pano set that contains Spy Collector?"
do you think?
Because the people, it was a very it was a hard line in terms of demographics of who liked it and who hated it.
Yeah.
Anybody over 50 hated it. Lots of people under 50 didn't hate it. So
Didn't hate it.
Well, fast forward, the person who wrote it has got like 4 novels on the New York Times bestseller list. So,
Hey, I love the fact that we tried it out and we move on.
yes.
So
All right.
that's been your only fall is Spy Collector? Anything else for people?
Oh, no, there's
all the
plenty
time.
more.
Anytime we do anything about an electric car, anytime.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Anytime
You're
we
setting
say
me up for failure. You're making me write about 2 cars.
anytime we say anything that anybody can remotely perceive that is negative about the 996, I hear about it. In spite of the fact that how many 996s have I owned?
Right.
We love 996s. You own one. I've had 3.
Absolutely. Well, that's a great segue when you
Right.
write about electric. So now we're going to talk about the Taycan Turbo GT first drive.
So I got to preface it with saying all hate mail sent to the editor. He assigns the stories.
Oh, I'll take the fall.
I'm just the
Manny.
guy who
It's-
writes it.
That goes with the
Honestly, I'm
territory.
jealous that you got to go there because not only did I think you drove that one, but you drove the other models as well.
I think pretty much the entire line they had. So yes, Rob could not go to a press trip, so he sent me, which we're always grateful when he.
Where did I send you, Manny?
You sent me to first you sent me to Heathrow, then to Madrid. I actually got 10,000 steps in. I couldn't believe it. Walking from terminal to terminal. I will say this: when you fly on these press trips, they treat you very well. They put you in business class, so I was not squeezed in the middle row of coach. But it's
But it's not all
it's-
rainbows.
No,
and
it's not as
unicorns.
glamorous. As
No,
people
because you're
think.
going for basically a day. You have a travel day. You leave the day before. You get there the next morning. You're beat.
And
You
every
go to-
minute is already
Right.
prearranged for you.
You in a stupor. You go to a press conference. You listen to engineers talk about the car. The next day you drive, still jet lagged, and the day after that you go home. So you're basically flying 4,000 miles for a day
Less
or
than
a day and a
24
half.
hours.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not. It's not
Still an amazing opportunity. though.
That
my,
is
my
true.
parents are going, you're going to have to see this in Seville. You're going to have to see this. I'm like, Mom, I am going to be there for like 30 hours total, including sleep. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to see whatever Porsche wants to show us.
Yeah.
And so, but as a Porsche fan, I am perfectly fine with that because I got to drive Porsche's most powerful street car they've ever produced, which is the Taycan Turbo GT. And so we started off with a drive in the, I think I mentioned this in the last podcast. We drove the base model to the Trek, and they had the whole lineup, and they assigned a base model to me and Brian from Motor Trend. Excuse me, not Motor Trend, Motor Week, and we. I was kind of glad because we love base models here. Then we get to the track, and they give us a briefing on the Turbo GT. They broke us into groups. I think we got 5 or 6 laps on this track in Seville, which was a fun track. And they don't ride with you. They have a leader who's driving a Turbo S, who's a much better driver than any journalist. And he says, you just keep up, and if you keep up, I'll keep on going faster. It's a stupid fast car. But it's very, it feels very planted. I never felt like it was on edge or it was loose. But it has every driving aid Porsche makes on this car. Torque vectoring, of course, PSM.
You drove the Weissach Package.
I drove the Weissach Package,
right? Which
just has no rear
seat.
No rear seat. I think it's 150 some pounds less. This is the one that the same model that broke the record at the Nürburgring for EVs, as well as Laguna Seca. They actually had the actual car there as well, and that had a cage, and I think Robert was showing the pictures of it. I liked it because they looked like they put this cage in at the last minute. And if you look, they just, I wouldn't say tore, but they unbolted a lot of interior pieces and to stick the cage in. And even the door panel looks like they took a utility knife and just cut the bottom half so the bar wouldn't interfere. And then put race seats in a harness and strapped it to the roll cage, and it was a race car. You can even see the passenger side has the same seats that we drove in, the sport buckets, which are not available in the U.S. You're going to be have to do with 18-way,
18-way, yeah.
But which are very comfortable. But the sport buckets were pretty cool. But the race car actually had a full-blown FIA certified race seat. And the cool thing was the driver, Lars Kern, who set the records, was there at Seville, and I asked for him to give me a ride in the Turbo GT's Weissach and to narrate his drive while he's talking to PCA members. So when Damon gets back from his filming, he's going to load that up and put it up on the
nice.
YouTube channel. And he is so professional. I wouldn't be able to concentrate and talk at the same time at the speed he was going. So the car has a Porsche Active Ride, which you've seen videos of, where it's jumping up and down. It looks like it's on hydraulics.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't feel it doing its work, but you know it's doing its work because the nose stays very level. So as opposed to other street cars, we do have to wait like a millisecond for the suspension to settle. Otherwise, if you would turn the wheel, you'd be jerking it, and you would upset the suspension even more. This was immediate, and in my head, I almost felt like I was driving my 964 race car. And the other thing was the brakes. Mm-hmm. You know, we've driven hybrids where you feel the brakes, and they do not give you confidence. This felt like a regular ICE engine brakes. It was immediate. There was even though it was in regen mode, it wasn't didn't feel any different.
Right. And with the active suspension, there's no dive on braking.
No,
there's no pitch
or even accelerating.
Yeah,
it also adjusts for that too. Yeah. So the car felt like it was on like when I was running 800-pound springs on my race car. It was very flat. There was very little body roll on it. I was so focused on keeping up with the instructor that it doesn't even occur to you that you're hauling around something that's close to 5,000 pounds. When people say it, they're like, oh, that's impossible. You have to feel it. I'm like, no, believe it or not, it really does not feel, I hate to say the word, but it's like nimble.
Right, yeah. Right. I mean, it's like mass masking. I mean, I don't know how they do it, but with, the Cayenne Turbo GT, this car, I mean, they do an incredible job of masking all that mass.
And I had the opportunity to drive on track the Turbo S back-to-back with the GT3. And yes, the GT3 was very fun on track. But the way, and this, again, was just a Turbo S, it's amazing how they do mask that weight. But the confidence you have in driving the car, I was certainly faster in the Taycan Turbo S, which is crazy to think. And I don't know about you, Manny, but when I was driving, I was just fully impressed with the 4 contact patches. That's all. That's like, I know I'm going at an incredible speed, rate, and weight, and the tires is sort of defying gravity.
But, you know, afterwards I was thinking the one thing that I did not miss, and I thought back to my race car. So my race car ran almost a straight exhaust. And I thought, at no point did the lack of an engine sound affect me, because there's wind noise, and the windows were rolled up, but you still hear wind noise, tire noise, that I, at no point, obviously I wasn't looking at tack because there's no tack, but I was glad I didn't have to switch gears, because that was one less thing to have to worry about. But I did not feel like not having the sound was messing with my head, because I couldn't tell the RPMs it was in. It was instant power.
The one thing that we didn't talk about that everybody got wrong is the number of motors.
Yep, there's only 2. I had asked them if they ever at any point thought about 3 motors, because that was what all the spy shots were all saying. It was a tri-motor, because the Tesla Plaid S is a triple tri-motor.
Yeah, so it's got to be.
They said it never was discussed because there's no room. The way the chassis architecture is, there's no way to do that. I joked and I said, so I guess you're saving that for the Panamera electric. And in typical German, he looked at me, did smile, and then kept on talking. So whether they come out with a Panamera electric or what, I wouldn't rule out tri-motor, but at least for the Taycan, they were able to put a 900-amp motor in the rear, where the Turbo has a 600-amp motor, and still use a 600-amp motor in the front, and put a new inverter, so that's where they're getting all this more horsepower.
Yeah.
So have people asked you, did you find it fun to drive?
People aren't really impressed with the Taycan. At least my friends, they were like, "Oh, that's cool," but it's not. If I would have told them I drove the GT3 RS Rennsport R, they would probably had a lot of questions about that. Was it fun to drive? Yes, but to me, it felt like a race car.
Right.
I mean, and I've driven, I've raced race cars. It had the feel of the suspension. I didn't feel like I was driving a street car. I wasn't making adjustments to let the suspension settle or wallow any. It was full on. I am pushing this car as hard as possible. They told us, please do not turn off PSM, which I did not. So the safety aids were in full effect, and I'm sure correcting a lot of my wrongdoings. But the car felt incredibly safe, which begged the question after people were on the desktop engineers were all talking about the Gunther Works and Patrick Long about not having a roll cage. And I was like, I told Phil, I'm like, heck, I was in a 1,100 horsepower car with no helmet and just a 3-point belt, and I never felt like I was in danger or whatnot.
Yeah. But, it's funny. I mean, you talked about people being just kind of blasé about it because it's a Taycan and EV. My response would be 2.1 seconds.
Yep. Which they let us do launch control.
Right.
And so near the end of the track session, they said, come up to start finish, and you can engage. Put your foot on the brake, hit the accelerator pedal, and then as soon as it says ready, let go.
If you haven't experienced a launch control at 2 seconds or 2.5 seconds, I can tell you it's painful.
Right.
It's painful.
Right. And let's just let that sink in. I mean, 10 years ago, breaking the 3-second barrier for a hypercar was a big deal. People were saying, hey, well, you can't really go any faster than that. You'll have like multiple organ failure if you do. And, here we are, 2.1 seconds, 0 to 60. That's nuts. 7 minutes and 7 seconds around the Nordschleife.
Yep.
Yeah. So
which is
you can hate on EVs all you want, but those are
staggering
Titanic numbers.
So it's funny because during the run, Lars, after he did the lap where he's speaking to the members as he was doing the next lap, he was asking me if I used the attack mode, which is so they have paddles that look like the same paddles you would have on a PDK, except you're not switching gears. The positive is to turn on the attack mode or to push to pass, and the negative button is to engage recuperation for braking. So he asked me, and when you engage to push to pass, it's for 10 seconds, and I think you have to wait 4 or 5 seconds in between to do it. And he asked me if I used it. And I said, I used it once. I said I didn't need it because it's like 1,100 horsepower, and then you add another, 90 horsepower more. With speed I was doing the track, I just didn't reach the point where I really needed it. But he laughed. He said, Laguna Seca. He said every 4 seconds he was hitting it every time. Wow. He was like, and I said, I noticed in the in-car video that you hit it going into a turn, which would to me be counterintuitive because you would want to hit it coming out of the turn where you're accelerating. He said, but I wanted it ready. So it starts counting down, but he said, I knew as soon as I came out of the turn, I didn't have to engage anything. It was already engaged.
It's already ready, prepared.
Yeah, so I thought, I didn't think about that. But, yeah.
So did they talk about who is this car? Who is going to be buying a 4-door, 2-person race car?
Well, so the question I asked was how many are going to pick the Weissach Package? Yeah, because they had the Turbo GT with the backseat installed without the big wing, just the gurney lip in the back, a little bit more refined looking, if you will. Mm-hmm. And he said the dealers told him that they can sell half of them with the Weissach Package.
Wow.
Which just blew me away. But as we were talking with the people from Porsche, which made sense, he said most of the people buying these cars, this isn't their only four-door car. They have other 4-door cars when they're going to dinner with friends or something.
They've got another car.
They can take that car. I think this car is more... I'm sure status, I've got the most powerful Porsche.
I've got the latest and greatest.
Porsche, yeah, exactly. And, of course, if you don't get it, then people are going to say, you didn't get the Weissach. Same phenomenon happens in a GT4 RS or GT3 RS. So it's a little strange looking back there, not seeing a back seat or something useful, but it is pretty cool that Porsche built something like this.
Yep. All right, so let's, we've really burned up some time. So let's go through. We talked a little bit about the 968 Buyer's Guide Tech Tactics Live.
Yeah, it was a great show. Even if you're not interested in buying a 968, if you want to learn about a 968, Brian covered a lot. I'm sorry, Jeff. I don't know why I said Brian.
Brian Gay, the technical
chair. Jeff Koch covered a lot. He was fully prepared for this this episode, and you will come out a 968 expert. And like he taught me that Porsche referred to the Club Sports as the CS, not the Club Sport, which I thought was interesting. I just automatically called it the Club Sport. But all the options, and we found out that Bob Miller, who from Aspie Motors, who's been a guest, he brought his car to the show, so we'd have one to look at. His was one of 2. And then Vu called him out because before the show, Jeff was showing us how when he got to Bob's place before he came over here, he was looking at Bob's car, so he'd be familiar with it ahead of time. And he noticed that at some point they had taken the top of the intake cover off, and they didn't put the cruise control line correctly. They left it on top of the car instead of underneath. And Jeff showed him how Porsche even put a little notch on there and everything. So Bob corrected it and before he got to the studio, but Vu had to call him out. Tell him that,
that's what friends are for.
Because Bob was sitting back with us in control with Robert, and I looked over. I'm like, "Who the heck services your car?"
That's funny. Well, I mean, as you mentioned earlier, even if you don't think you're into 968s or transaxle cars in general, it's something you should watch because you might be after you watch.
You'll become a fan.
I didn't even know about like the
3-liter 4-cylinder
at the beginning. How they had the prettier. Engine compartment with the different compartments, and then they stopped doing that for cost, the trim and whatnot.
The recessed badge on the
that's early, really early stuff. Check
it out.
You'll become a 968 expert. And this is such a short run car that I'm assuming most people don't know that much about the 968, other than it looks like a 928. But we learned that not even the headlights are from a 928.
Exactly.
But I mean the fog lights. I mean all of it is very reminiscent of a 928. They're great cars.
This next one, Manny, it's an Instagram link. I didn't even click on it, so I don't even know what are you presenting here for news. Do you remember?
Oh, that was the K1.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to get Rob all excited since he was talking about how happy he was that Porsche was building a 7-seater SUV. But at least this time they're going to Le Mans. Remember last time when the Cayenne came out, they canceled or said we're not going to Le Mans. That was a big joke. That was a T-shirt everyone was wearing in Sacramento at the parade in 2000. Was it said, "The hell with Le Mans, we're building an SUV."
Really?
Yeah, people wore it at the It wasn't an official T-shirt, obviously.
Right.
But people wore it at the concours, and from what I heard, Porsche executives were not that thrilled that
You
people are
think?
wearing this T-shirt. But that was the truth. They were not going Le Mans. They were putting their money towards this SUV, which, in retrospect, we're
Probably
glad they
funded
did.
a lot of subsequent
Yes,
trips to Le Mans.
exactly. Yes, the Porsche knew what they were doing, so that's why when I look at this car, I'm like, Porsche is the most profitable car company, so it'll be interesting to see how the market is. But I think they've done a lot of research on this, and this isn't just a whim. It's something that
They're very strategic.
They've
looked
decided.
at it from 10 different
Right.
vantage points.
I-
They're getting into
and
it
we
because
won't have to
there's-
I
fly
did
to
commit
events
to-
anymore. We can just all climb into the Porsche SUV and
Right.
amount of
I
money we'll
did
save.
commit to maintaining an open mind about it, and
I'll drive one.
we'll-
and in 30 years you can buy one for how much you buy your Cayenne for?
$6,000.
$6,000. There you go.
All right, let's wrap up with some Porsche PCA events. We've got the Porsche Only Swap Meet in Carlisle, April 27th. We have the Alabama Region Hospitality Tent at Barber Motorsports Park, April 26th to 28th. We've got the Wilderness Trail Region.
Yeah, I saw this. I was looking for
Event.
upcoming events, and if you want me to mention your event, just don't make it a driver's ed because there's nothing but driver's eds on the events. We can't mention all the driver's ed events, but if it's something else that's kind of interesting, send it my way. I try to look at all the upcoming events on the national webpage, and this looked pretty interesting because they promised 600 plus miles of mountain driving. That
That sounds
sounds
like a lot
like
of
fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
might have to get your Taycan charged 1 or 2 times, but it sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, sorry. I was just looking down at the dog, just making sure he's breathing.
He's still there.
Yeah.
Porsche Parade Phase 2 opened, and that's where you're selecting all
And
of your
I
choices.
got to give a
for the
shout out to Robert and everyone on the on that committee who had something to do with. I had nothing to do with it, but I could hear all the phone calls, and these people looked at every possible scenario to make this thing go smooth. And when the day came, you would have thought we were launching a shuttle, because Robert kept on telling us every 30 minutes how much time was left before registration opened. And the ladies at member services were ready, and it opened, and it seemed to go really smooth. I just looking at forums and just internet chat, there wasn't anyone complaining.
When you
Yeah.
have 900, almost 900 families putting in their wish list of what they want to experience at parade, pretty much in a, not at the same time, but very close to being at the same time, that requires a lot of preparation on PCA's part. And, if it goes well, most people won't even notice. But without the attention Robert and the crew have put into it, it can easily become a nightmare.
Yeah, they
So-
have to deal with all these events have their own chairs. So it's a lot of events. You can imagine each chair wants a different thing for their registration to show, and it's not as automated, Rob,
Right.
as you think. And so he had to go in there and Robert had to do a lot of stuff up to the last minute to prepare this. But I really think it paid off. I mean, they should be very proud of themselves.
Absolutely. Next, we have, Treffin at Sea. Over 820 members already registered. If you want to join us in Alaska, we'd love to have you there. For those of you that want to get some time behind the wheel, but maybe you don't have time in your actual car, check out PCA Sim Racing program at pcasimracing.com. And let's see, we would need to make sure we talk about the PCA Insider teas that Charlotte's put together for us, the podcast mugs and the podcast water bottles. And if you're looking for a PCA Insider podcast decals, just send us a note at podcast@pca.org, and we'll make sure we send you out a set. All right, Rob, Manny, anything else? Ethan,
Yep.
anything else? All right. Well, thank you for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and own a Porsche, grab that VIN, head over to pca.org, and love for you to join our club. If you're looking for that special Porsche, we have the test drive program. Remember to follow our podcast Instagram page, behind the scenes photos, videos, Porsche Club Insider, all one word. And again, be sure if you'd like to comment, subscribe, be sure to like our YouTube videos. We certainly appreciate it. Until next time, stay safe, and we'll catch you down the road.